right, the last concept I want to get in the introduction to statistics is this idea of causation versus correlation. I don't know if I'm going to actually write anything, but I just want to talk about it. We all hear this word called correlation. I actually would prefer you didn't use the word because you don't really know what correlation means. It's a way to kind of gauge how strong a relationship is between two variables. It's not the best thing in the world to be looking at, and it only is for two variables, so it's really not the best thing to be looking at. But a lot of people use and like the word causation and correlation, and they work with that. And what I see a lot happening is that people say, well, these two variables are correlated, so therefore one caused the other. A good example of this is that there was a congressperson who said that in towns where there was all-day kindergarten, there also was more juvenile delinquents. And because there was this relationship between these, and there was a correlation between whether a town has all-day kindergarten and whether a town has more juvenile delinquents, he decided that sending kids to kindergarten all day caused more juvenile delinquents. Now, granted, most of us would not think that, but this was a case that happened. And this actually did really happen. And this guy really did say this. And these people are in Congress and are running our country. So I want you to realize that. So one of the things to think about is just because two things are not related does not mean that one caused the other. It could mean, but it doesn't mean that. But there are times where it does mean that. So smoking causing bladder cancer. A lot of people think that there wouldn't be a relationship, but they've actually shown that the relationship between smoking and bladder cancer, and they've been able to do enough research and look at every single thing that they could look at might be show this relationship. And there's the only thing they can eliminate or can say is that it was the smoking that caused the bladder cancer. So they've been actually able to do that. So if you take enough data and you do enough looking around and do enough research, you can actually say some things caused it, but there has to be a lot more research than just the correlation. So do realize that this can happen. But there are lots of examples where there's been correlations that are not a causation situation. An example is that there was a study one time that showed that when there's more ice cream sales, there is more deaths at the beach. So therefore, eating ice cream causes you to drown. Of course, reality is that both of them increasing at the same time is because it's hot and there's more people at the beach and there's more people eating ice cream. But there are occasions where people, again, have made correlations and said that there was a causation. So a very good example of this was back in the 1930s, before we knew what was causing polio. It might have been the 1940s, but before they knew what actually caused polio, there was this group that decided, or doctors who actually came out and said that that because they were seeing more kids getting polio in the summertime and more kids were eating ice cream in the summertime, they were deciding that eating ice cream actually caused people to get polio. Now, in reality, what it was is that more kids were around the other kids. They were summertime, they were eating ice cream because it was ice cream time and it was summertime, and they were more around other kids. So therefore, the polio became more transmitted. But there are occasions where this all happens, and we have to look at these cases. Another example, I just love to give these, is that there's actually a correlation between drinking diet soda and obesity. And the more diet soda you drink, the more obese you are. And people are like, oh, well, that's just because people, they could see that would be causing it, because people are thinking that if you're trying to lose weight by drinking diet soda, you would actually gain more weight because you might think the diet soda allows you to have other things. But they've actually been able to show that there's something in the diet soda that you don't feel full and you end up eating more, even though you've been drinking. And so they've actually been able to show that there's actually a relationship between that going on. So again, these are all correlation studies that are done, we have to look at. A real serious one, that I don't think you really find it serious, but in towns that have more country music stations, there are more suicides. Now, that does not mean that country music causes people to commit suicide. It just means that towns, and I didn't say per capita, I just said the number of, and if you have more suicides, you probably have a larger population. If you have a larger population, you probably have more country music stations. So it just depends on which way it goes with it. So realize that sometimes with correlations, you have to look to see, is there an some other variable that could be causing both of these things. There's lots of other concepts that are occurring in basic statistics. So you should read the textbook to get more ideas behind what has to be in good studies, but these are all things to look at.